Chapter 1376. With just a little bit of attention, all the information related to family who was presented to him. Yi Zhou. The Huo family head looked through the information in his hands, but he had no impression of this name. However, the sky spill continent was vast and filled with talents. Unless it was someone as amazing as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was impossible for everyone in the 4 regions to have heard of them. Otherwise, it was understandable that they didn't know of some talents. However, since the other party was familiar with the leader of the imperial sect and was able to obtain the protection of the other party, the people of the Hu clan were really lucky. Humph. I didn't think that Hu Yennyang, who gave birth to such a foolish son, would have such luck to be able to meet such a person who is familiar with the imperial family sect master. The Huo family head coldly snorted. The others were listening at the side, but none of them made a sound. When Hu Yennyang was schemed against and lost her virginity, with the Huo family's ability, they could see that something was wrong. However, the Huo family head didn't want the Huo family's reputation to be damaged, so he pinned the crime of adultery on Hu Yennyang. This caused Hu Yennyang to be spurned by everyone in Wild City, and even more so by the Hu clan. Hu Zhongtian was forced to settle her outside and couldn't bring her back to family Hu to take care of her. If it weren't for this, Hu Yennyang wouldn't have had such a miserable life. And between the Huo family and family Hu, there wouldn't have been no chance of redemption. Especially after snatching the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they were no different from enemies. And all of this was because the Huo family head had been too ruthless. However, in front of him, no one dared to say that he was wrong at the time. The Huo family head seemed to be able to sense everyone's emotions. He coldly snorted and said, "Have someone contact this Yi Zhou and see if we can make peace. Also, have someone prepare. I'm going to visit the patriarchs of the other top families." If that Yi Zhou didn't know what was good for him, then don't blame the Huo family for being impolite. Even if the Huo clan could not monopolize the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they could not be excluded from it. If the other party wanted to help family Hu wholeheartedly, then he could only join forces with the other top families to force the other party to hand over the map. Otherwise, the Huo family would be the unlucky ones in the end. He would absolutely not allow that to happen. Although the imperial sect master was powerful, his status in the southern region was also very high. However, the far west desolate region was not his home ground in the end. The forces of the southern mountain range were willing to work for him, but they might not be willing to work for family Hu. At that time, he would join forces with the other top clans. He didn't believe that they would be able to resist. As the Huo family head thought of this, he immediately snorted coldly and went to prepare. In family Hu, Luo Qingtong was also listening to Hu Yennyang's report. "Master, the Bai family's mouth has been pried open." Hu Yennyang said, according to Bai Changfeng, they went to Fenghua City for the enlightened purple jade fruit and the thunder beast. They were prepared for an expert from the hidden world. The other party didn't say which sect he was a disciple of. He only said that he was out to gain experience. Bai Changfeng and the others put in a lot of effort to get in touch with this person. Chapter 1377. Mistress, the other party is from the hidden world. I'm afraid they aren't easy to provoke. Hu Yennyang said to Luo Qingtong with a worried expression. Before she met Luo Qingtong, she basically didn't know about the existence of the hidden world. But after she met Luo Qingtong and helped her manage the Blackfield mansion, she gradually began to understand these matters. From this, Hu Yennyang realized just how vast the world was, and just how vast and boundless the sky's spill continent was. In the eyes of ordinary people, the 4 great sacred dynasties were giants that were difficult to reach. But in the sky's spill continent, they were only a small corner of the eastern domain. As for the hidden world, it was said that the sects and influences there were even above the influences of the sky's spill continent. The powerhouses that cultivated there, if taken out, were enough to crush the powerhouses of the sky spill continent. After learning that the things that the Bai family had prepared were actually prepared for the people of the hidden world, Hu Yennyang was immediately worried. She had already killed everyone from the Bai family, but she was afraid that the other party would have other means to trace the whereabouts of the purple heart fruit and thunder beast. Hidden world. Luo Qingtong's eyebrows arched up. The Bai family was actually able to establish contact with the people of the hidden world. This really surprised her. However, she would deal with whatever came her way. She had already done what she had to do. Moreover, even if she didn't steal the purple heart fruit and thunder beast that the Bai family had prepared for the other party, with the help of the Bai family, the other party would inevitably confront her. Since that was the case, what else was there to worry about? She would wait until the other party came. Yes, I know about that. What else? Luo Qingtong looked at Hu Yennyang. What about the Saint Monarch's tomb? I managed to pry out the information about the Saint Monarch's tomb from Bai Feng's mouth. It is said that the Ouyang family suddenly announced this information without any warning. Moreover, they promised that besides the families that have the map, those without the map can still enter the Saint Monarch's tomb to try their luck. Mistress, the Ouyang family's behavior is very strange. They seem to be deliberately tempting others to enter the Saint Monarch's tomb. Hu Yennyang looked at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Indeed. Others didn't know that because they didn't have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. But Luo Qingtong knew that the 4 pieces of the Saint King's tomb incomplete map would only show the paths and mechanisms in the tomb in greater detail. But a single map to enters tomb Saint Monarch. The saint s the tomb, t s the mapses. It would not be a hindrance to finding the tomb itself. If it weren't for the family whose matter and the Ouyang family's announcement of the Saint Monarch's tomb's map, Luo Qingtong might have already entered the Saint Monarch's tomb with Yu Sihuang and the others. But now that the Ouyang family's people had announced the Saint Monarch's tomb's news to the public, she couldn't act as she thought before, lest she ended up benefiting others. She wanted to see what kind of medicine the Ouyang family had up their sleeves. Continue to inquire about the Ouyang family. By the way, before and after they announced this news, help me see if anything special happened in their family. Chapter 1378. Master, before the Ouyang family announced the news, they sought medical help from the outside world. The young master of the Ouyang family suddenly contracted a strange illness. At that time, all the alchemists in the wild city saw it, but they were helpless. In the end, a man in white with a cloak took down the notice and cured the young master of the Ouyang family. Not long after that, the Ouyang family gathered all the families in the wild city and announced the news about the Saint King's tomb. I don't know if it has anything to do with this. Hu Yennyang said. She knew about this because Hu Zhongtian had told her about it in advance. After the man in white cured the young master of the Ouyang family, he had also gone to seek medical help from the other party. He wanted the other party to help treat Hu Fei, but he was rejected. Not long after Hu Zhongtian returned to family Hu, the hidden danger of broken bones in his body broke out, and he fell ill. After that, the Ouyang family gathered all the families in the wild city and announced the news about the Saint King's tomb to the public. Because Hu Zhongtian was seriously ill, and family whose strength had faintly fallen to that of an intermediate family, no one told him about this news. If Bai Feng had not recognized the map of the Saint King's tomb that was announced by the Ouyang family and the item that family whose people had obtained, she would have gone to force them to ask for it. Hu Zhongtian probably did not know about the Saint King's tomb. Because it was a gift from a man, he had been too sad and kept it sealed. He did not want to know what was inside. Because no matter how many things and compensations he had, he could not get his Yennyang back. Because this incident happened before the Ouyang family announced the news about the Saint King's tomb, and because there was nothing suspicious, it did not attract too much attention. If it was not because Luo Qingtong asked about it, and because Hu Zhongtian's request for medical help was still fresh in her memory, Hu Yennyang would not have remembered this incident. Wearing white with a cloak, Luo Qingtong's index finger tapped on the table. Did your father see that person's face? I'm not too sure about that. Hu Yinyang looked at Luo Qingtong and said, I'll call my father here for you, master. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded gently, then raised her hand to gently stroke the little fox's little head. Seeing its listless face, she immediately smiled and said, What's wrong? Is it not fun? Why are you unhappy? Yi Qianxian looked at her face, looked sad. He felt that in the time he spent with Luo Qingtong recently, he was on the same level as Yu Sihuang, that idiot. She did not know why he was unhappy. Yi Qianxian's life was an indescribable. It raised its paw and pulled at a big red flower that was clipped by its ear. Yes. It's a big red flower. Not only that, on the little fox's small body, there was a small silver vest, embroidered with very cute cartoon characters. There was also a small silver bell around her neck. She looked extremely adorable. However, Yi Qianxian's heart collapsed. He had lived for more than 20 years, he was used to seeing blood and wind, used to being high and mighty, the majestic, domineering, calm and cold black field. Ming Zun never thought that he would have such a look. Bei Qing. Elder Yu. Just you wait. Yi Qianxian's face was full of anger. Chapter 1379. Luo Qingtong thought the silver fox was getting impatient, so she adjusted the red flower on its ear. Then, she called for the family who guards outside and asked them to take the silver fox out to play. But Yi Qianxian would rather die than submit. What a joke. He was tamed like a pet by this woman, and it was okay to tease him like this. But if he was treated like this by someone else, he would kill them. Naughty little thing. Seeing the silver fox clinging onto her clothes with its claws, Luo Qingtong felt helpless and amused. She had never had a pet before, so she didn't know pets were such a troublesome little thing. Or was it that the little fox that Yi Qianren gave him was special? But it was Yi Qianxian who gave it to her, and it had the same eyes as the man. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have been so patient. Okay. Let me play with you. That man really knew how to choose a gift. Choosing a little fox like this was because it was as arrogant and difficult to please as he was. But Luo Qingtong smiled as she watched the silver fox chase after the tiger she had modified. They ran around the house and chased after each other, which made her very happy. Such a lively and mischievous personality, it was completely different from Yi Qianmin. Luo Qingtong smiled and supported her forehead with her hand as she thought. She didn't know Yi Qianxian's heart was also very difficult to describe. When he was with other people, he was able to suppress the nature of the little fox's body. But when he was with Luo Qingtong, he didn't know if it was because of his instinct to relax in front of this woman, or if it was because of some other reason, but the nature of the little fox's body was completely exposed. He was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. Yi Qianxian's heart twitched, and he didn't want to see himself like this. Ah! The silver fox leaped in front of the cloth tiger and used its claws to hold down the fake tiger that was running around. Then, the silver fox roared in front of the cloth tiger, jumped on it, and bit it. It was as if he was really fighting with a big tiger. Luo Qingtong could not help but laugh. Even Hu Yinyang couldn't help but laugh when she saw how cute the silver fox was. This little fox was simply too adorable. He wondered where his master had found her. Moreover, his strength seemed to be very strong. Previously, when Hu Yinyang was at the family Hu Hall, he had seen the little fox make a move in an emergency. It had almost sent great-granduncle flying with a swipe of its paw. This wasn't the strength of an ordinary demon beast. Even the cubs of sacred beasts didn't have such strength. Could it be that this little fox was the cub of a divine beast? And it's a super high-level one. As Hu Yinyang was thinking about this, the silver fox, which had been attacking the cloth tiger for a while, returned to Luo Qingtong's side with its loot. Oh. Chapter 1380. Yi Qianxian did not expect his young fox body to have such a reaction. So, even if he had become an animal, he still instinctively loved this woman. He wanted to give her the best thing he had. Yi Qianxian was thinking when Hu Zhongtian's voice came from outside. Young master. Hu Zhongtian's figure came in from outside. Hu Fei also came with him. Although Hu Yinyang sent someone to say that Luo Qingtong was looking for Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei thought that he might be able to help. So he came with them. Father, big brother. Hu Yinyang called out to them. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei nodded at her, then looked at Luo Qingtong. Young master, are you looking for me? Hu Zhongtian said to Luo Qingtong. I want to ask you, when you went to the Ouyang family to seek medical treatment, did you see the face of the man in white? Luo Qingtong had a feeling that the other party might be related to the Ouyang family's sudden announcement of the Saint King's tomb. Otherwise, the young master of the Ouyang family would have fallen sick when the Ouyang family announced the news of the Saint King's tomb. This matter might not be related in the eyes of others, but in Luo Qingtong's eyes, it was not necessarily so. If there was really someone behind the Ouyang family and told them about the Saint King's tomb, then using the opportunity of the Ouyang family seeking medical treatment to enter and contact them was the most inconspicuous way. After all, if they could investigate the Ouyang family before and after the announcement of the Saint King's tomb, how could others not investigate? However, it was normal for the young master of the Ouyang family to seek medical treatment for a strange illness. Basically, no one would pay attention to this matter. Not to mention that it would be related to the Ouyang family's announcement of the Saint King's tomb. Luo Qingtong thought so and suddenly narrowed her eyes slightly. That man in white must be strange. Yes. Hu Zhongtian nodded at this time. Previously, I was anxious to seek medical treatment for Fei. Although the other party rejected me, in the end, I still rushed into the Ouyang family and saw that person. But I only took one look before I was taken out by the people of the Ouyang family. Hu Zhongtian recalled the scene at that time. He had been too impulsive back then. However, Hu Fei had been unconscious and paralyzed in bed for more than 10 years without waking up. Now that a very powerful person had suddenly appeared in the Ouyang family and cured young Master Ouyang's strange illness, Hu Fei was naturally unwilling to give up so easily and made a final gamble. Although he did not succeed in the end, he saw the face of the white-robed man. Okay, draw his face, Luo Qingtong said. Okay. Hu Zhongtian nodded and then asked someone to prepare a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone for him. Not long after, the family guards who had been ordered to retrieve the items returned. Hu Zhongtian took the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone from the other party's hand and spread the paper in front of Luo Qingtong. Then, he drew the face of the man in white on it. Looking at the face of the man in white that Hu Zhongtian drew, Luo Qingtong's face was slightly shocked. Then, she laughed. It's actually her. Master, do you know this person? Hu Yinyang looked at the face drawn by Hu Zhongtian and asked. Not only do we know each other, but we are very close. Chapter 1381. Weren't they familiar with each other? Luo Qingtong looked at the face on the paper. Who else could it be but Feng Wuan in disguise? Heavenly Doctor, Luo Qingtong chuckled. She did not expect that the other party had also come to the far west wilderness. Should it be said that enemies meet on a narrow path? However, was the information that the Ouyang clan knew about the Saint King's tomb actually provided by the other party? If so, what was her conspiracy? Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan had fought back and forth several times. She knew that she was not a person who would shoot without thinking. Since she had found the Ouyang family to cooperate, she must have a motive. She just did not know what she was after. Things were really getting more and more interesting. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile, and her face was full of interest. She originally thought that Feng Yuan would hide and practice desperately after she had broken the method of seizing luck on Mo Qinxian. She did not expect that she had come to the far west wilderness and had a relationship with the Ouyang family. Not only that, it seemed that she was also after the Saint King's tomb. This was interesting. It seemed that this trip to the Saint King's tomb was very lively. While Luo Qingtong's lips were smiling, in the Ouyang family, Feng Yuan, who had disguised himself as the heavenly doctor, had also received news about the map of the Saint King's tomb. You mean, a map of the Saint King's tomb has appeared? In the main hall of the Ouyang family's main courtyard, Feng Yuan was dressed as a woman. His face was disguised as the heavenly doctor. He looked very delicate and beautiful, and it was hard to tell whether he was a man or a woman. However, she did not have Luo Qingtong's unique demonic and domineering aura. Her face, which was both male and female, was beautiful but did not have a trace of spirituality. She looked like an overly delicate plastic flower. In terms of temperament, he was too feminine. However, the young master of the Ouyang family next to him looked at him with a face full of obsession. That's right. We've received news that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is in the family who, as he spoke, he recounted everything that had happened in family who recently. Then, he asked Feng Yuan, Holy Doctor, what should we do next? Do we have to wait for the other two maps to appear? But according to the current situation, no one knows where the two maps are. Now that we have two maps, can we start exploring the Sage Monarch's tomb? Ouyang family head said as he looked at Feng Yuan. The latter had suddenly appeared in Wild City some time ago. At that time, his son, the young master of the Ouyang family, was suffering from a strange illness. The Ouyang family put out a notice to seek treatment, and the other party came and cured his son's strange illness. Not only that, but he also took out a map of the Sage Monarch's tomb, told them about the tomb, and asked for their cooperation. The Ouyang family head naturally wouldn't refuse such a beneficial thing for the family. Thus, the two sides began to cooperate. The various abilities and medicinal skills that Feng Yuan displayed also made the head of the Ouyang family attach great importance to her. This time, she was the one who brought the news of the Sage Monarch's tomb. Therefore, he naturally had to ask for her opinion. Yi Zhou, hearing the Ouyang family head's description of family who, Feng Yuan's brows furrowed slightly. She had never heard of the other party's name before. How could he be so capable? Not only did he cure Hu Zhongtian's injury, but he also cured Hu Fei's strange illness. Let's not talk about the latter. Chapter 1382. At that time, she saw the illness in his body and it was absolutely untreatable. If he himself was like this, there was no need to talk about his son. Lying in bed for more than 10 years, it must be a very troublesome strange illness. Feng Yuan couldn't even treat his injury, naturally she wouldn't treat his son's strange illness. Otherwise, even if she cured his son, so what? If she couldn't cure him, she would be questioned by others. Thinking of this, she rejected him at that time. She didn't expect that there was someone who cured his injury, not only that, he also cured his son's illness. That Yi Zhou, where did he come from? In this world, other than her and evil Dr. Gui Tong, there was someone who had such godly medical skills at such a young age. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan's eyes suddenly focused. Wait. She looked at Ouyang family head and said, you just said that behind them is the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands. Mentioning Yu Sihuang, Feng Yuan's eyes turned cold. Not for anything else, she had previously received news that the reason why Yu Sihuang was banned by the Blackfield, not allowing him to step into the eastern region's territory, especially the Blackfield city, was all because of evil Dr. Gui Tong. It was said that the other party had fallen in love with evil Dr. Gui Tong and went to the Blackfield city to confess. That was why he was chased out of the Blackfield city by Ming Zun and then banned by the entire city. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan clenched her teeth. Although the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands wasn't as good as Yi Qianxian, he was still a rare expert. Not only that, after his heart disease was cured, his strength and potential soared rapidly, and in the future, he would be the king of the southern region. For such a person to fall in love with evil Dr. Gui Tong, Feng Wuan couldn't help but grit her teeth until they broke. Although she only set her eyes on Yi Qianxian, it didn't mean that she didn't want other men to fall in love with her. Especially Yu Huang, no matter if it was strength or status, he was an existence that far surpassed the average expert. In the end, the other party actually liked Luo Qingtong. When Feng Wuan found out about this, he almost smashed the main hall of his princess residence. Now that he heard the news of the other party, plus the Yi Jiu's medical skills were so powerful, a trace of haze appeared in Feng Wuan's eyes. Family whose daughter, what did you say her name was? Hu Yinyang. Ouyang family head and the others didn't know why she asked these questions, but they still answered truthfully. Saint Doctor, do you know her? Seeing that Feng Wuan's eyes suddenly shrank after hearing Hu Yinyang's name, and his mood fluctuated greatly, the head of the Ouyang family immediately asked. No. I don't know her. Feng Wuan said coldly, his eyes cold. But I know her master. Swallow, Hu Yinyang, shopkeeper Yen. They both had the word Yen, plus the youth called Yi Jiu's medical skills, and Yu Huang's existence. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? Feng Wuan was almost certain that the youth called Yi Jiu was evil Dr. Gui Tong. The other party knew how to hide, to actually hide his name and come to the far west wilderness. He should also be here for the Saint King's tomb, right? Just in time. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. I've lost to you a few times before. Now, let's settle our old grudges together. Feng Wuan's eyes were cold, and his face was full of resentment. Chapter 1383. Not far from it. Ouyang family head said, at that time, Bai Feng from the Bai family revealed everything in front of all the families present. Now, almost everyone in Wild City knows that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is with family Hu. However, with the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands in the southern region around, no one dares to touch family Hu. In other words, if there were no accidents, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb would belong to family Hu. No one dared to snatch it. However, how could she fulfill Ghost Eye's wish so easily? Feng Wuan sneered. Of course, she would let him enter the Saint Monarch's tomb. Otherwise, how could she be worthy of her plan? But the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. She would just hand it over obediently. She would not let her enter the Saint Monarch's tomb in such a grand manner. She would just wait to be crushed by the top forces in Wild City. She would just wait to see her in a sorry state. With that thought in mind, Feng Wuan suddenly said to Ouyang family head, if I'm not wrong, the Yi Jiu should be one of my enemies. Anyone can have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, but the Hu clan can't have it. Help me contact the Hu family. Give these medicinal liquids to them. Didn't the elders and young master of their family have one hand crippled by Yu Huang? These medicinal liquids can restore their hand to its original state. I only have one request, and that is to not let family Hu have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. I think you will help me, Ouyang family head. Feng Wuan looked at Ouyang family head who was sitting at the head of the hall. For such a small matter, our Ouyang family will naturally satisfy the holy doctor's request. Ouyang family head agreed to her request almost without any hesitation. It was just a mere family Hu. It was not a big deal. Moreover, Feng Wuan was not asking the Ouyang family to directly confront the other party. Wasn't there still the Hu family? If they could get the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, the other party would be very willing to deal with family Hu. Furthermore, the Ouyang family could use this opportunity to make some requests to the Huo family. These were all real benefits. Not only could they satisfy Feng Wuan's request, but they could also obtain the corresponding benefits. Why wouldn't their Ouyang family agree? Yes. Lord Holy Doctor, don't worry. We will definitely avenge you. As for Yi Jiu and the Hu clan, we will definitely teach them a lesson for you. Beside Feng Wuan, the young master of the Ouyang clan said eagerly. He was mesmerized by Feng Wuan the moment he saw him. In order to better control the Ouyang family, the latter revealed her identity as a woman when she first entered the Ouyang family. The strange illness that the young master of the Ouyang clan contracted was also Feng Wuan's handiwork. It was all so that he could enter the Ouyang clan without attracting attention and cooperate with them. Now, with just a little trick, the other party couldn't leave her. It provided Feng Wuan with a lot of convenience in the Ouyang family. Hearing his words, Feng Wuan immediately smiled at him and said, "Thank you, young master and family head." Feng Wuan's words made the young master of the Ouyang family very satisfied. Looking at the infatuated look in his eyes, Feng Wuan felt disdainful and very proud at the same time. Her charm was indeed not something that could be resisted by ordinary people. Unfortunately, Ming Zun of the Black Field was bewitched by that B**tch evil Dr. Ghost Eye first. Otherwise, why would he turn a blind eye to her? Feng Wuan gritted her teeth in her heart. She wanted to see how evil Dr. Ghost Eye would be unlucky this time. Chapter 1384. Beiqing, Feng Yu. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the group of people in front of her. Meanwhile, Beiqing, Feng Yu, and the others were also staring at her blankly. More accurately, he was looking at the incomparably adorable little fox in her arms. Oh my God! Beiqing, Feng Yu, and the rest groaned in their hearts. They never thought that Luo Qingtong would dress Yi Qianxian up like this. Master! Master, we really didn't do it on purpose. Master! The group of people looked at the little fox lying in Luo Qingtong's arms and looking at them coldly. Their hearts trembled and they wailed. Especially Beiqing, after he sent Yi Qianxian to Luo Qingtong's place, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. But he was too dense. Although he felt something, he couldn't figure out what was wrong. When Feng Yu returned from outside and heard about this, he was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. Beiqing, this idiot. Master is a little fox. He sent Yi Qianxian to the evil doctor and said that it was a gift from Master. Wouldn't the evil doctor keep Master as a pet? Pig! Even if Master wanted to stay by the evil doctor's side, he definitely wouldn't do it in such a way. Master would probably want to avoid the evil doctor in this way. How could he send Master to the evil doctor's side? Feng Yu couldn't bear to imagine what would happen to Beiqing and the rest. He only hoped that Master's life at the evil doctor's side wouldn't be so bad and that he would be more benevolent. Otherwise, they would have to wear that eyesore makeup and be a ladyboy for the rest of their lives. Feng Yu's lips twitched. After Beiqing heard what he said, he instantly understood what he had vaguely sensed, that something was amiss: his gaze. His gaze. When he brought Master to the evil doctor, Master's gaze was as if he wanted to chop him up. To think that he had thought that Master was warning them not to reveal his identity. Oh my God! Beiqing felt like she was going to die. Especially when he looked at Yi Qianxian, who was dressed up to look cute and obedient, with a gorgeous red flower pinned on his head, and felt his master's cold gaze, which was even colder than the cold wind. This feeling became even more intense. Master! Master, I was wrong, Master. Beiqing felt that she was about to be cut into pieces by her master's gaze. Luo Qingtong noticed the strange looks they were giving the silver fox. She raised an eyebrow and asked, "What is it? Why are you staring at Silver Bow?" Silver Baby, hearing Luo Qingtong's name for Yi Qianxian, Beiqing, Feng Yu and the others' mouths twitched even more. They didn't dare to stare at Yi Qianxian anymore, in case Luo Qingtong noticed something. If that happened, they would die even more miserably. The group of people immediately averted their gazes. Ahem. Evil doctor, it's like this. Feng Yu coughed lightly and looked past her master's eyesore. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Master sent us to fetch silver bow back. Please return it to me for the time being. Feng Yu's face was full of bitterness as she said this. Oh my God. Bei Qing and the others had made such a big mistake. Giving Master to the evil doctor as a pet, when Master returned to her human form, where were they going to find silver bow to return to the evil doctor? This was simply a scam. Chapter 1385. Feng Yu's heart was filled with bitterness, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. Yi Qianxian wants to bring it back. Why? Luo Qingtong felt strange. Wasn't this little fox a gift from Yi Qianxian? Ahem. We don't know either. That's what Master told us, Feng Yu said. His face was calm and his words were watertight. Bei Qing stood beside him and didn't dare to make a sound. She was afraid that Luo Qingtong would notice something was wrong. Then, they would be dead. They would be dead. There was no way to save them. In the face of such a strong sense of danger, Bei Qing's stupid and careless personality was surprisingly good. She didn't reveal anything. Luo Qingtong nodded. She thought that Yi Qianxian probably wanted to bring the little fox back for something. Not to mention other things, the little fox's claws were still wearing that man's ring. Maybe it was because of that. Luo Qingtong thought about it and immediately let go of the little fox in her arms. Alright, you guys can take it away. Silver bow, be good. I'll wait for you to come back. Luo Qingtong kissed the little fox's nose and handed it over to Bei Qing and Feng Yu. The latter and the others didn't dare to look at the interaction between Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian. They were afraid that Master would punish them when they returned. Master actually interacted with the evil doctor like this after turning into a fox. Oh my God. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others suddenly felt that their lives would be very difficult when they returned. Especially when Luo Qingtong handed a pile of silver bow's toys to Feng Yu. The latter's expression was so stiff that he couldn't even look at it. Master's toys. Wind Feather looked at those little cloth tigers, little cloth lions, little cloth bears in her hands with a horrified expression on her face. There were also a few grasshoppers with broken wings. They were locked in a transparent jade bottle and given to him. The faces of Feng Yu and Bei Qing stiffened. Especially when they saw the bite marks on the little cloth tiger's body, the expressions on everyone's faces became even more horrified. Was this really Master's bite? Everyone's expression was very stiff. When Luo Qingtong saw the cloth tiger, she seemed to remember something and immediately picked it out. Silver Baby has already given this little cloth tiger to me. I won't take it back. Luo Qingtong smiled at the silver fox, which had been placed into a basket by Bei Qing and Wind Feather. Silver Baby, I'll wait for you to come back so we can play together. As she spoke, she shook the small cloth tiger in her hand. Yi Qianxian stared at him blankly. He really didn't know what to say. Other than this woman, who else could treat him as another venerable and raise him as a pet? It was this woman. If it were anyone else, he would definitely not allow them to treat him like this. Ow ow. Seeing Luo Qingtong staring at him, as if waiting for his response, Yi Qianxian was very depressed. But in order not to expose himself, he still opened his mouth and called out to the girl twice to show that he understood. As for playing with her when he came back, he would play with her himself. But definitely not with these toys. Chapter 1386. Then, evil doctor, we'll be leaving first. Bei Qing, Wind Feather, and the others bowed to Luo Qingtong with cold sweat on their foreheads. Then, they led Yi Qianxian away. After they were far away from Wild City, the group of people lifted the cloth covering the basket and knelt on the ground, begging for forgiveness, Master. Please forgive us, Master. Humph. Yi Qianxian coldly snorted and straightened his body from the small basket. The figure that was squatting in the basket was still small and cute, but the aura that it exuded was extremely powerful and incomparable. It was completely different from the cute and obedient attitude that it had in front of Luo Qingtong. Yi Qianxian lifted his claws and pulled down the big red flower on his head. He was a dignified underworld revered, who knew what he looked like when he wore this big red flower. Yi Qianxian clenched his teeth and pulled down the flower. He originally wanted to crush it. But as he thought of Luo Qingtong's happy smile when she put this flower on his head, he coldly snorted and retracted his claws. He grabbed the flower and threw it to the other side of the basket. Then, he pulled down the cute cartoon vest on his cub's body. He didn't know what was embroidered on it. It had a short body, a big round head, and eyes that took up almost 2/3 of its face. What kind of monster was this? Yi Qianxian studied the cartoon pattern on the vest for a long time. He didn't know what Luo Qingtong had drawn. Within the Sky Spill continent, he was very familiar with all the monster beasts in the outer realms. There were very few monster beasts that he didn't recognize. What did Luo Qingtong draw that he couldn't recognize? However, this appearance was a bit like his own cub form. He felt that the woman had changed the proportions of his cub's body. Yi Qianxian stared at the small vest for a while. Then, he pulled it to the side and placed it together with the big red flower. Then, he stretched out his claws and pulled at the small bell around his neck. The bell was tied with a thin golden ribbon around the neck of Yi Qianxian's cub body. The bell was silver and was especially delicate and beautiful. It floated around the neck of Yi Qianxian's cub body, perfectly complementing its smooth silver fur. On the back of the bell, there were 2 characters engraved, Silver Treasure. It was clearly Luo Qingtong's handwriting. Yi Qianxian was short and his claws were short. He couldn't pull it open for a long time, but he didn't want to tear the bell's ribbon. Not for any other reason. Although he didn't like it, it was still Luo Qingtong's heart. He couldn't pull it. Feng Yu, who was kneeling in front of him, carefully looked up at him and said, "Master, let me do it." Yi Qianxian coldly snorted and didn't speak. He put down his claws. Feng Yu hurriedly went forward and removed the belt. Bei Qing originally wanted to help, but he was pulled back by Yi Qianren's claw. Chapter 1387. While Bei Qing continued to kneel on the ground with an aggrieved expression, Feng Yu had already helped Yi Qianxian untie the belt and placed it together with the bell on the pile of things beside Yi Qianxian. "Master, it's done." Yi Qianxian glanced at him coldly. He wanted to say something, but then he remembered that he was now a fox cub. If he opened his mouth, he would sound like a cub. He immediately shut his mouth and raised his claws to draw on the ground, then let Feng Yu take a look. Feng Yu came over and saw a few lines of words written on the ground. "This matter is forbidden to speak of. Anyone who speaks of it will be killed without mercy." Yi Qianxian's last 3 words were written with a murderous aura. The sharp killing intent and coldness seemed to penetrate through those few words and rush towards him like a golden spear and armored horse. "Yes." Feng Yu and the others quickly responded. They knew that Yi Qianxian must have specially warned them to not let the evil doctor know. The corners of everyone's lips twitched as well. With their master's current state, how would they dare to let the evil doctor know the truth? It's not like he was tired of living. The group all responded. Yi Qianxian's cold gaze swept past them, then he wrote a few more words on the ground. "Where's Elder Yu?" His last question was spoken with great force, showing the anger in his heart. Yi Qianxian had heard clearly before that it was Elder Yu who suggested to send him to Luo Qingtong for that fool Bei Qing. At that time, the demon fox blood curse in his body had just taken effect, and his body was very weak. He had no way to resist at all, and Bei Qing had carried him to Luo Qingtong with a basket. He had to settle the score with him now. Yes, master. Feng Yu quickly said, Elder Yu is in the main city. This time, we were ordered by Elder Yu to bring you back. He found a way to speed up your absorption of the heavenly fox blood essence and break the blood curse. At this point, Feng Yu couldn't help but cough lightly. To be honest, if it wasn't for this, they wouldn't have dared to come and pick up Yi Qianxian. They were afraid that their master would punish them in a fit of rage. With Elder Yu's method, their master would be busy dissolving the heavenly fox blood essence in his body. He would probably postpone their punishment, right? The group of people all thought so. Yi Qianxian coldly snorted. How could he not know what they were thinking in their hearts? However, he really urgently needed to dissolve the heavenly fox blood essence in his body. He wouldn't bicker with them for the time being. Recovering his human form as soon as possible. He had had enough of this young fox's body and the nature of its body. In front of that woman, he could still tolerate it. Now that she had left Luo Qingtong's side, Yi Qianren did not want to maintain her image for even a second. Let's go. He lifted his claws and quickly carved a word on the ground. Then, he suddenly jumped onto Feng Yu's shoulder. The latter bowed to him and then released the Atlas flying ship. The group of people boarded the ship and flew towards the Blackfield main city. After Bei Qing and the others left, in the family who, Luo Qingtong put away the small cloth tiger and was about to return to her room. Then, she heard the news from the family who guards outside. The Huo family had sent people to the door and specifically asked to see her. The Huo family. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. When she was in the Bai family, didn't she express her intention clearly enough? Chapter 1388. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Okay, go and tell Yan Yang that I'll be there soon. Just as the Huo clan was heading to the family who, the Huo clan had also welcomed a group of unexpected people in the main hall of the Huo clan. Young Master Ouyang. The Huo clan head and the elders of the Huo clan were surprised to see Ouyang Shao suddenly visit. What was this young Master Ouyang doing in the Huo clan? As top clans, the Huo clan and the Ouyang clan were not enemies, but they were not particularly harmonious either. What's more, the Huo clan intended to fight for the map of the Saint King's tomb, but they were defeated by Yu Sihuang. Was the Ouyang clan here to mock them? Thinking of this, the Huo clan head's face suddenly darkened. But soon, he was stunned. Huo clan head, I'm here on my father's orders to deliver medicine to you. I heard that Huo Ting and a few elders of the Huo clan were injured. Ouyang Shao smiled as he looked at the Huo family head and said, these few bottles of medicinal liquid were given to me by the holy doctor who had cured my illness. It can help Huo Ting and the others recover their severed arms without any hindrance. As Ouyang Shao spoke, he immediately took out the bottles of medicine given by Feng Wan and handed them to the Huo clan head. This. What do you mean, Master Ouyang? The Huo clan head did not take the bottles of medicine, but looked at Ouyang Shao with a puzzled expression. He did not know why the Ouyang clan was so kind. The Huo clan's strength suffered a setback, so it should be beneficial for the Ouyang clan, right? When the Saint King's tomb opened, the Ouyang clan would have fewer competitors. Wouldn't that be great? Why did he still give them medicine and treat them? Looking at the Huo clan head's vigilant face, Ouyang Shao said, don't misunderstand, Master Huo. These bottles of medicine were not given to you by the Ouyang clan, but by the holy doctor. He said, Yi Zhou, who is hiding in the family who, Chu Lingfeng's friend, is the holy doctor's enemy. The holy doctor saved my life and is the benefactor of our Ouyang clan. Since she has a grudge against family Hu, we can't let the map of the sage monarch's tomb fall into family Hu's hands. I chose to cooperate with the whole clan only because we have the same enemy. Patriarch Hua, you also want to obtain the map of the saint monarch's tomb to wash away your shame, right? That southern region king was summoned by Yi Zhou. Snatching the map from her is equivalent to slapping the southern region king in the face. It's not too much. The whole clan will also benefit from this. I don't think Patriarch Hua would reject such a proposal, right? Ouyang Shao looked at the whole clan head and said. These words were naturally given to him by Feng Wuan. Feng Wuan's grasp of people's hearts was extremely accurate. She didn't even need to be there to be sure that the other party wouldn't reject her proposal. Sure enough, after pondering for a while, the whole family head accepted the bottles of medicinal liquid. Then, he looked at Ouyang Shao and asked, does the Ouyang clan mean to support the whole clan in obtaining the map? That's right. Ouyang Shao nodded and said, I know that the whole clan is preparing to cooperate with several other top clans. The Ouyang clan already has a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. The Ouyang clan will not participate in the second map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. However, these people were no longer as arrogant and unbridled as they used to be when they met family Hu. Every one of them was very humble. Ninth young master. They all bowed to Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at them. What is the purpose of the whole clan's visit this time? The map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. I think I made my attitude very clear when I was in the Bai family last time. Luo Qingtong's voice was calm, but her tone of rejection was unquestionable. The whole clan had treated Hu Yenyang badly. When they were in the Bai family, they even tried to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. No matter what conditions they proposed, Luo Qingtong would not agree. The whole clan elder's expression was very ugly. The whole clan could be said to be very influential in the wild city. They had always been the ones who rejected others, but no one had ever rejected them. Chapter 1390. Luo Qingtong's words made the elder of the Hu family very angry. In his opinion, family Hu and this young man named Yi Zhou, if not for Yu Si Wang's strength and identity, they were not even qualified to talk to the Hu family. This time, they were really a fox assuming the majesty of the tiger. How dare they embarrass the Hu family like this? However, when he thought of the map of the Saint King's tomb and what the Hu family had said to them before they left, he could only swallow his anger and said to Luo Qingtong, why do you have to do this, young Master Zhou? Our Hu family did go a little too far when we were with the Bai family. But that was just a moment of recklessness for those elders. The Hu family is willing to apologize for this. Moreover, the exploration of the Saint King's tomb is of great importance. With family whose ability alone, I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to move an inch in the Saint King's tomb. Young master, why do you want to affect the benefits of entering the Saint King's tomb because of this small conflict between us? Not to mention other things, just based on the friendship between the Hu family and family Hu in the past, it is far more suitable for you to share the map with us than to find other top families, isn't it? The elder of the Hu family said as he looked at Luo Qingtong. Hu Zhongtian and the others snorted and sneered when they heard this. The Hu family dared to talk about friendship with them. If they really had a little bit of friendship with family Hu, Yan Yang would not have fallen into such a miserable state. Not to mention, the Hu family had never extended a helping hand to family Hu for so many years. They had kicked them when they were down. The Bai family even brazenly made a move to snatch the map of the Saint King's tomb from them. After all this, the Hu family still dared to talk about friendship with them. Hu Zhongtian and the others' expressions were extremely cold. Luo Qingtong was even more unmoved. The Hu family's words were nice, but unfortunately, it was useless against her. Why would she need to rely on others to gain something in the Saint King's tomb? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Not interested. She looked at the elder of the Huo clan and said, if the people of the Huo clan came just to say these words, then, see them out. Luo Qingtong said and stood up directly. Ninth young master. When the elder of the Huo family saw this, he immediately stood up and shouted anxiously. Luo Qingtong actually didn't give him any face, which made the Huo clan's elder very depressed. However, for the sake of the Huo family's patriarch, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and continue to plead for her. At this moment, a Huo clan guard quickly walked in. Elder. The Huo clan's guard walked up to the Huo clan's elder and whispered into his ear, the patriarch wants us to go back. Chapter 1391. Ninth young master, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be so arrogant. If it weren't for the ruler of the southern region, you and family who would have died many times over. How would you have the chance to be so arrogant in front of us? The Huo family has always disdained to lower ourselves to the level of petty people. Otherwise, based on family whose previous down and out appearance and the fact that he made the Huo family a laughing stock, he would have been torn to pieces and crushed to pieces a long time ago. But family who doesn't appreciate it. You really don't know what's good for you. Especially you, Hu Yinyang. The Huo family elder sneered at Hu Yinyang and said, doesn't family who hate us for telling the public that you had an affair with someone else? Unfortunately, even if you were set up, you are still an unclean broken shoe. You did something shameless yourself. Naturally, you can't blame the Huo family for misunderstanding you. Isn't that the case? The Huo family elder's expression was cold and disdainful. His mocking and disdainful gaze pierced Hu Yinyang deeply. She was so angry that her body trembled. This Huo family elder's words were too shameless. Back then, the Huo family clearly didn't have any evidence. In order to protect their own reputation and to prevent Hu Yinyang from blaming the Huo family, they simply told the public that she had an affair with someone else. Hu Yinyang had no way to defend herself. She had been slandered and despised to the core. Now, this Huo family elder dared to say such things about her and shamelessly whitewash the Huo family. Hu Yinyang was so angry that her entire body trembled. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei, who were beside her, were also very angry. They had always treated Hu Yinyang like the apple of their eye. When the latter encountered such an unforeseen event, they were just as heartbroken as Hu Yinyang. Now that they saw this Huo family elder slandering and humiliating Hu Yinyang, they were instantly so angry that their hair and beards flared up. In the past, Hu Yinyang wouldn't have been so miserable. If it weren't for the Huo family slander, Hu Zhongtian could have brought Hu Yinyang back to family whose care and suppressed that matter. However, it was the Huo family's publicity and slander that trampled Hu Yinyang, who had lost her virginity. At that time, the Huo family had countless ways to break off the engagement, but they chose the most ruthless way to deal with Hu Yinyang, which was also the one that made her feel the most hopeless. If it wasn't for this, how could Bai Feng have seized the opportunity to make a move on Hu Yinyang and forced her to flee thousands of miles away? This elder of the Huo clan actually dared to speak to her like that. Of S. But she couldn't act rashly. Her intuition, which had been in charge of the affairs of the Blackfield residents for Luo Qingtong for a long time, told her that there must be a reason behind this Huo family elder's sudden change in attitude. Before she figured it out, she couldn't cause trouble for Luo Qingtong because of her own affairs. Perhaps the other party wanted to provoke her to deal with her master. As Hu Yinyang thought of this, she immediately suppressed all the anger and frustration in her heart. At the same time, she held Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei's hands to prevent them from acting too rashly. Chapter 1392. What are you waiting for? Luo Qingtong's face was cold as she looked at the Huo family elder who was sneering at her. She said to Hu Yinyang and the others coldly, "Others are pointing at your noses and scolding you. Are you waiting for them to leave happily after scolding you to their heart's content? Still not attacking. Today, no one from the whole family can leave here in one piece. This whole family elder's attitude was strange. Luo Qingtong naturally saw it. It would be fine if the other party left obediently. She wouldn't go as far as to attack a random person. But the other party was so arrogant and unscrupulous. They even insulted Hu Yinyang. Luo Qingtong couldn't tolerate it. Did they really think that she didn't dare to attack them? So what if the whole family had someone backing them? She, Luo Qingtong, was never afraid of any challenge. You dare. Yi Zhou. You dare to attack us. The whole family won't let you go. The whole family elder just said arrogantly and humiliated Hu Yinyang. He also attacked Hu Zhongtian and his son. Suddenly, he felt an indescribable pleasure in his heart. He only felt that he had vented his anger in front of Luo Qingtong. He thought that even if Luo Qingtong and the others were angry, they wouldn't dare to do anything to them. After all, they had the whole family behind them. And he didn't attack Luo Qingtong. He just wanted to deal with Hu Yinyang. What could the other party do to him? Yu Huang was willing to protect Yi Zhou and family Hu. But it didn't mean that he would also protect Hu Yinyang. He calculated in his heart, but he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would attack him. Seeing Hu Zhongtian and the others surrounding them, his heart felt bad. Was this Yi Zhou crazy? She relied on Yu Huang's protection. She actually dared to take the initiative to attack him. Just to avenge Hu Yinyang. The elder of the whole family was both anxious and angry as he thought about it. He hurriedly shouted. Chi! Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She sneered at him and said, if we don't touch you, the whole clan won't do anything to us. If that's the case, you wouldn't be so arrogant just now, right? As she spoke, she lifted her eyes to look at the whole family elder, whose expression had suddenly changed, and casually said, so, why should I let you go? At this point, Luo Qingtong's expression suddenly turned solemn. She said in a cold voice, do it. Chop him up and send him back to the whole family. As for the others, break their limbs and send them back. The other party was so respectful. Luo Qingtong didn't believe that the whole family didn't have a plot against her and the Hu family. Their biggest goal was to get their hands on the map of the sage monarch's tomb that family Hu had. Since that was the case, why would Luo Qingtong be polite to the other party? This action was not only to avenge Hu Yinyang, but also to let the whole family know that she wasn't someone to be trifled with. They dared to go against her, so they were waiting to be skinned alive. Yes. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei were just about to attack, but Hu Yinyang reached out to stop them. They knew that Hu Yinyang was afraid of causing more trouble for Luo Qingtong, so they restrained themselves and didn't attack. Now that they heard Luo Qingtong's words, they naturally jumped up and rushed toward the panicking Huo family elder. The latter thought that Luo Qingtong and the others didn't dare to touch them because of the Huo family. The latter and the others nodded and were just about to leave when suddenly, a few figures rushed in from outside in a hurry. Because they were running too fast and in too much of a hurry, they tripped over each other and almost fell flat on the ground. No! Bad news! They ran to the entrance of the Huo clan in a panic. When they saw Patriarch Hua and the others standing there, they immediately shouted. Patriarch! Please go and take a look. Seventh Elder and the others. Patriarch Hua's face instantly froze. What happened to Seventh Elder and the others? Bai Feng acted as the go-between in the Huo family, and the two parties worked together. The Bai family was the vanguard while the Huo family reaped the fruits of their labor. If the Bai family was unable to solve the problem, the Huo family would take care of it in secret. This conjecture was very logical. However, no one had any evidence, so they could only give up. At this moment, the whole family members, whose limbs were broken, were crawling on the ground and crying as they spoke. This gave them sufficient reason. Many of the family members who were injured in the Bai family's incident ran back to their respective clans to report the news. The few Huo family disciples were panicking. Chapter 1395. Master. The group of people was still rambling incoherently, but Master Huo had already heard the cries of the Huo family's disciples and guards who had their limbs broken. He was so angry that he was about to have a cerebral hemorrhage. What the hell were these people talking about? When did the Huo family do such things? Were they crazy? Family whose people broke their limbs, and they actually helped family whose people to slander the Huo family. Master Huo was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. Some of the things that the Huo family disciples and guards said were indeed secrets of the Huo family. They were not very important, and it didn't matter if they said it. However, what they said afterwards about how the Huo clan had helped the Bai clan deal with the other clans in the Wildland City was extremely frightening. Master Huo couldn't care less about the few Huo family disciples who were kneeling in front of him and stuttering as they reported. He lifted his leg and kicked them to the side. Then, he coldly shouted, "Shut up. Hurry up and bring all of them here. Make them shut up." Master Huo was extremely angry, especially when he saw that many people from other families had arrived outside. He instantly became even angrier. If these people appeared individually, he could completely ignore them. However, when so many families appeared together, even if Master Huo was the master of one of the top families, he couldn't simply offend them all. It was also because they were well aware of this point that the people from those clans had all come together. "Huo clan head, can you explain what's going on?" A middle-ranked family master raised his hand and pointed at the group of Huo family disciples and guards who were kneeling on the ground and crying non-stop. "I don't know what is going on," Master Huo said with a cold expression. He knew that at this time, he definitely couldn't admit to this matter. And these things weren't done by the Huo family in the first place. He denied it righteously, then looked at Hu Fei and Chu Lingfeng with a gloomy expression. "Shouldn't you ask family whose people about these things? These guards and disciples were all sent to family who by me. You should ask them what they did to my disciples and guards to make them say such things." The Huo family head's face was filled with anger. He really didn't know what family who had done to these disciples and guards. If he had known that the result of sending people to family who would be like this, he wouldn't have sent people there in the first place. He would have just gone against family who directly. The Huo family head's expression was furious, but Hu Fei, who had already received Luo Qingtong's instructions, looked very calm. He looked at the ferocious Huo family head and said, "Huo family head, your words are a little funny. My family whose people can beat the Huo family's people into confessing. Do you think they know all the secrets of the Huo family? Whether these people are telling the truth or not, we'll know with a simple test. If family who had the ability to know the Huo family like the back of his hand, he wouldn't have been nearly destroyed by the Bai family." As soon as Hu Fei finished speaking, everyone present immediately nodded their heads. That's right, they were very clear about family Hu's situation. Chapter 1396. But now, with these details as evidence, it was absolutely impossible that family who had instructed the Huo family's disciples and guards to spill the beans. Although he didn't know how family who did it, the words of these guards and disciples were absolutely true. There was no doubt about it. Hu Fei's words instantly angered Patriarch Huo so much that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Family whose move was too ruthless. How did they do it? In fact, Luo Qingtong had only fed them a truth pill to make these Huo family's guards and disciples reveal all of the Huo family's secrets. As for the crimes that didn't exist, Luo Qingtong only needed to hypnotize them and make them believe that these things really existed. Naturally, their subconscious minds would say these words together with the effects of the truth pill. Luo Qingtong had been thinking about how to push the blame of the voodoo sect to the Huo family. She didn't expect them to come knocking on her door. Since the Huo family wanted to die so badly, she naturally had to grant them their wish. Luo Qingtong had never been a sitting duck. Her usual style was to strike first to gain the initiative. Since the Huo family had already decided to deal with her, then she wouldn't be merciful. She would use the Huo family's name to hide the voodoo sect. From now on, the connections and resources controlled by the voodoo sect would never be discovered. Luo Qingtong would let Su Yu and the others make good use of those connections and resources. As for the Huo family, I'll just have to take the blame for this. At the same time, in family Hu Yannyang looked worriedly at Luo Qingtong and said, "Master, won't this enrage the Huo family too much?" Hu Yannyang wasn't worried about anything else. She was only afraid that the Huo family would fly into a rage out of humiliation and recklessly attack them and Luo Qingtong. If anything happened to her master, it's fine, the Huo family won't have the chance. Just this alone was enough for the Huo family to be in a terrible fix. Not to mention, if the Huo clan wanted the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they would not rashly attack him. He had to have a certain level of confidence. Of course, if the Huo family really made a move, she would be more than happy to oblige. She was just worrying about how to muddy the waters. Only when the water is muddy will it be easier to fish in troubled waters. It would be great if the Huo family was willing to give her this opportunity. Luo Qingtong's actions were meant to infuriate the Huo family head. However, according to her investigation of the other party, it was unlikely that the other party would do so. Otherwise, he would be too stupid. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Hu Yannyang heard her words and immediately calmed down. To her, as long as Luo Qingtong said it was fine, then it was definitely fine. Chapter 1397. Luo Qingtong smiled as she thought of this. She bid farewell to Hu Yannyang and left family Hu. Luo Qingtong already had a plan in mind. The Huo family was about to force their way in, so she naturally had to do something. She didn't want to be too passive. Just as Luo Qingtong left family Hu, the Huo family head was enraged by Hu Fei's words at the entrance of the Huo family. More and more people from the other families rushed over, giving him a headache. It was unknown what the Hu clan had done to the Huo clan's disciples and guards who had their arms and legs broken, but no matter what, they refused to shut up. The Huo family head had no choice. He couldn't kill all of them in front of so many people. If he did, it would be the Huo family who had a guilty conscience and killed them to silence them. However, if they continued to make a ruckus, the Huo family would definitely be the scapegoat. He had no choice but to let the Huo family members go forward, seal their mouths, and drag them back to the backyard one by one. He wanted to see if there was any way to wake them up so that the Huo family could be cleared of suspicion. Otherwise, the following matters would be troublesome. That damned family Hu. That damned Yizhou. The Huo family head had already linked this to Luo Qingtong's doing. After all, he was well aware of the capabilities of family Hu's people. Only a weak youth who had provoked the king of the southern mountain range could do such a thing. Moreover, she obviously had medical skills. Hu Zhongtian's injury and Hu Fei's strange illness were all cured by her. The Huo family head gritted his teeth as he thought of this. Family Hu, Yizhou, just you wait. He gritted his teeth and looked at Hu Fei and the other family members with a dark expression. He suddenly shouted coldly, "The Huo family will definitely give you an explanation for what happened today. But now, we don't welcome family Hu's people here. All of you, get lost." He looked coldly at Hu Fei and the others. "You don't have to worry about this, Huo family head. Since we have delivered the gift, we naturally have to leave." "Oh, that's right, we still have a big gift here that we haven't delivered." Ninth young master personally instructed that this big gift must be delivered to the Huo family head. Otherwise, I'm afraid that it isn't sincere enough. As he said this, he immediately called out to Chu Lingfeng, who was beside him. Ling Feng. The latter responded and took out a black jar from the useless ring that Luo Qingtong gave him. Then, he raised his hand and threw it at the head of the Huo family. Stop pretending to be mysterious. The Huo family head snorted coldly. He didn't even look at the jar. He raised his hand and smashed the jar into pieces. However, the moment the jar shattered, the head of the Huo family clearly felt that something was wrong. In an instant, a strong smell of blood assaulted their nostrils. Bang! After the jar exploded, a large mass of flesh and blood instantly rained down on the head of the Huo family. All right. We have received all the gifts. Is the Huo family head satisfied? As Hu Fei's voice rang out, the Huo family head's expression instantly turned ferocious. His body instantly exploded. Hu Fei. His expression was extremely ferocious and distorted. He could clearly sense the aura on the blood and flesh. This was clearly Seventh Elder, who he had sent to family Hu. Chapter 1398. With a boom, the Huo family had attacked Hu Fei. However, just as his figure rose up, Chu Lingfeng, who had just thrown the jar, suddenly appeared in front of Hu Fei with a bang. With a bang, the muscles all over his body tightened and a fake petrification soul seal appeared on his back. That was a fake soul seal imprint that Luo Qingtong had drawn for Chu Lingfeng. With this fake soul seal imprint and Chu Lingfeng's special physique, he resisted the Huo family head's attack. Bang! Chu Lingfeng's figure retreated rapidly. The skin all over his body had exploded and he looked like a bloody man. However, the aura all over his body was not weak at all. He stared at the stunned Huo family head and then raised his hand to wipe the blood from the side of his lips. My mother is not an immoral bitch. Chu Lingfeng said in a low, muffled voice. If I hear anyone from the Huo family say such things again, I will kill one person for every word. As long as you can't kill me, I will kill everyone from the Huo family. Even if it was someone else who said it, I will still blame it on the Huo family. Chu Lingfeng had followed Luo Qingtong for a long time and he had learned some of Luo Qingtong's black-bellied character. Although he was silly, he was very concerned about his master's matters. As for his mother's matters, it was needless to say. This time, Chu Lingfeng came to the Huo family to present gifts at his own request. He wanted to let everyone know in public that his mother was not to be trifled with. If these people brought up his mother's matters again, they could not blame him for being unscrupulous and starting a massacre. Anyway, his master had said that no matter what method he used, he would be a hero if he could win. Chu Lingfeng's voice was muffled. The Huo family head had not yet recovered from the shock of the other party being able to withstand his attack. In an instant, he was angered to death by his words. The other party's words were simply shameless. Why should the Huo family be blamed for what other people said? They had gone too far. The family Hu people had gone too far. Patriarch Huo looked at family Hu with bloodshot eyes. Hu Fei did not expect Chu Lingfeng to jump out and block the attack. Not only that, he actually managed to block the attack and was only severely injured. He jumped in fright and hurriedly pulled Chu Lingfeng away. He was afraid that something would happen to this foolish nephew of his. When they returned, wouldn't his younger sister and ninth young master teach him a lesson? The group of people quickly left, leaving behind the furious Huo family head, who had lost all his face, panting heavily. Bastard! He slammed his palm heavily on the ground, almost flipping all the bluestones on the street. Prepare gifts for me and head to the other top clans immediately. Family Hu, Yi Zhou. Just wait and see. While the Hua family head was angrily heading to the other top clans, Hu Fei hurriedly brought Chu Lingfeng, who was badly mutilated, back to family Hu. He had not seen Chu Lingfeng injured before, so naturally, he did not know about his special constitution. He was almost scared to death when he saw his badly mutilated appearance. Chu Lingfeng, on the other hand, looked completely fine. When he was in the blood arena, he often suffered more serious injuries than this. Chapter 1399. Ninth Young Master. Young Master. As soon as Hu Fei came back, he hurriedly went to look for Luo Qingtong. The latter had just finished her work and came back. Seeing Chu Lingfeng in such a state, she immediately raised her eyebrows. "What's going on? Why are you injured like this? Didn't she tell them not to clash with the Hua family?" "Master." Seeing Luo Qingtong, Chu Lingfeng's indifferent expression changed. He lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. Then, he quietly looked at Luo Qingtong from the corner of his eyes to see if she was angry with him. "I deliberately blocked that old man's attack. Master, I warned them not to talk about my mother. Master, I didn't listen to you. Are you unhappy?" Chu Lingfeng asked Luo Qingtong with a nervous expression. "I won't." Luo Qingtong looked at Chu Lingfeng's expression, which was like a big wolf dog who was afraid of being abandoned. She immediately raised her head and patted his head. In the beginning, she was willing to accept Chu Lingfeng and the others because of their filial and pure nature. Of course, they were also loyal. "You were right to protect Yen Nyang," Luo Qingtong said. "How can you not protect your parents when you were born? You did very well." As Luo Qingtong spoke, Chu Lingfeng immediately became happy. His tall and burly body looked particularly simple and straightforward. He kept smiling foolishly. But soon, he lowered his head and muttered in dissatisfaction, "It's fine as long as I protect mother. I don't want that father." Hu Yinyang had never hidden anything from Chu Lingfeng. She felt that even if her son was a fool, he still had the right to know his own life and origin. Hu Yinyang actually didn't know much about that man. Back then, she had fallen into Bai Feng's trap and was invited to a run-down temple by the latter. In the end, the person who had been waiting for her was the man who had fallen into her trap. In her panic, Hu Yinyang only saw the word "Chu" on a jade tablet hanging around the other party's neck. There was another word at the end, but Hu Yinyang couldn't see it clearly. She fainted from the pain. When she regained consciousness, she was faced with Bai Feng's sad and pitying gaze, as well as the disdainful and contemptuous gazes of the Hua family, family Hu, and the others. Hu Yinyang didn't know the man's name, nor did he know if the word Chu was his surname. The word Chu was the only impression she had of him. Naturally, it was used on Chu Lingfeng and became his surname. This way, at least her son's life would be more complete. Hu Yinyang thought so. She rarely talked about the past, but when she did, she couldn't help but feel grief in her heart. Chu Lingfeng had secretly seen her cry a few times. Naturally, he didn't have any good impression of the father who had made his mother so sad. In any case, he only recognized his mother. What was a father? He didn't know. Moreover, people had said that he was a fool since he was young. Even if he had a father, the other party wouldn't want him. Chu Lingfeng had heard a lot about this, so he didn't have any thoughts about this so-called father of his. However, even if he didn't want his father, he still wanted to seek justice for his mother. If he had the chance to meet the other party in the future, he would definitely ask the other party to seek justice for his mother. After Luo Qingtong finished treating Chu Lingfeng, she saw Hu Yinyang standing outside the door when she went out. The latter still had tears on her face. When she saw Luo Qingtong come out, she quickly wiped them away. Chapter 1400. Ouyang clan. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She looked at Hu Yinyang. The thing in the latter's hand was clearly an invitation. Luo Qingtong took it and opened it to take a look. It said that the Ouyang clan would be holding a meeting and invited her and family who to attend to discuss entering the sage monarch's tomb together. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. Sage monarch's tomb meeting. Discuss entering the sage monarch's tomb together. Did the others also receive this invitation? Luo Qingtong looked at Hu Yinyang and asked. They all received it. Hu Yinyang said, all the forces and families in Wild City received this invitation, including those who rushed to Wild City after hearing the news. The news of the sage monarch's tomb began to spread after the Ouyang clan announced it. Luo Qingtong and the others had not heard of it when they were in Fenghua City because Fenghua City was located too far away from Wild City. So the news spread relatively slowly. When they rushed to Wild City later, they heard a lot of rumors along the way. During this period of time, many people rushed to Wild City, waiting for the sage monarch's tomb to appear. Well, in that case, let's go. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and her smile was playful. The Ouyang clan's move was really good. She did not know if it was Feng Wuan's idea or not. This was an open conspiracy. Even if Luo Qingtong knew very well that the Ouyang clan was holding the sage monarch's tomb meeting this time, it was likely that they had an ulterior motive. However, so many people had received the invitation and would definitely go. If she and family who did not go, they would only become the target of everyone. In that case, why not go? She wanted to see what kind of surprise gift the Ouyang clan and Feng Wuan had prepared for her. Yes. Hu Yinyang nodded and said, I'll immediately send someone to reply to the Ouyang clan. But master, she looked worriedly at Luo Qingtong and said, I'm afraid the Ouyang clan's grand assembly of the sage monarch's tomb this time isn't normal. I'm afraid that they will target you at the conference. Hu Yinyang followed Luo Qingtong and managed all the businesses and affairs of the Blackfield mansion for her. She was very sensitive to these conspiracies and immediately felt that something was wrong. She was worried about Luo Qingtong's safety. Master, should we send someone to ask for help from the Blackfield and ask them to send some people over? She looked at Luo Qingtong. Previously, Luo Qingtong had been hiding her identity, fearing that there would be some twists and turns in the matter of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Now that the Ouyang family and the Hu family were clearly targeting her master, and there was also a divine heavenly doctor who had a grudge against her master, Hu Yinyang was afraid that something would happen to Luo Qingtong's safety. No need, distant water can't quench a present thirst. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The Blackfield's forces were almost all concentrated in the east region. The far west wilderness was a pioneering area, and the competition between forces was great. The law of the jungle was serious. The Blackfield's deterrence here was far from that great. What's more, behind the Ouyang family was the divine heavenly doctor, Feng Wuan. The enmity between her and the other party was as deep as the sea. Luo Qingtong believed that the other party would spare no effort to incite the forces in the Wild City to deal with her. Exposing her identity was of no use to her. On the contrary, it would easily attract more unnecessary trouble. Moreover, Yi Qianxian was currently in the extraterritorial realm looking for a way to temporarily alleviate the hidden dangers in his body. Luo Qingtong couldn't distract him. Chapter 1401. Yes. Hu Yinyang agreed after thinking about it. In that case, her master could only rely on the power of the imperial sect. However, the imperial sect did not have any power in the western wilderness. With the power of the southern region in Wild City, it would be difficult to fight against the Ouyang family and the Hu family. Hu Yinyang left with a worried look. In the Ouyang family, Feng Wuan received the news from the Ouyang family. He sneered in his heart, evil physician Gui Tong, you really agreed. Feng Wuan had expected this. As long as Luo Qingtong was not stupid, she would definitely agree to come to the Sage Monarch's Tomb conference. Now it seemed that it was true. Young master, please arrange an identity for me. The kind that can appear in front of people openly. My status can't be low. Feng Wuan looked at Ouyang Xiao and said. She wanted to appear in the Sage Monarch's Tomb conference to deal with Luo Qingtong. She wanted to get back some of the interest from before. Okay. Ouyang Xiao hurriedly agreed when he heard this. Will the Holy Doctor appear in the Sage Monarch's Tomb conference as my fiancé? This way, we can avoid people who don't have eyes looking for trouble with the Holy Doctor. We can also deal with Yi Zhou. Ouyang Xiao looked at Feng Wuan with an infatuated and fawning expression. Okay. Feng Wuan was very satisfied. The fiancé of the Ouyang family's young master was indeed of very high status. It was enough for her to deal with Luo Qingtong. While Feng Wuan and Ouyang Xiao were talking, the Huo family head had already reached an agreement with the other top families. Among these families, some were already preparing to contact Luo Qingtong. After all, as long as they had the Sage Monarch's Tomb map, they did not mind cooperating with family Hu and Yusi Wang. Moreover, they had no enmity with family Hu and Luo Qingtong. As long as they could give the corresponding conditions, including supporting family Hu, they would definitely cooperate with them. However, before they could do anything, the head of the Huo family had already come knocking on their door. Not only that, but he also said that the Ouyang family had already asked him to cooperate. It was said that the Ouyang family had made it clear that they would not participate in the fight for the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. However, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb must not fall into the hands of family Hu. The people from the top clans fell silent. Helping family Hu meant going against the Ouyang family. The price was too high. It was far better to work with the Huo family. After all, both sides had the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. Their chances of winning were too high. Almost without any hesitation, the group of people from the top clans agreed to the proposal of the Huo family head. Meanwhile, the Ouyang clan's invitation to the Sage Monarch's tomb had already reached them. Ha! Looking at the invitation card, Patriarch Huo couldn't help but laugh out loud. The Ouyang clan really keeps their word. The Sage Monarch's tomb is the perfect time to make a move. The Huo family head was indescribably proud of himself, and his face was full of confidence. The Sage Monarch's tomb conference was being held by the Ouyang clan, and the Ouyang clan was on their side. When Luo Qingtong and the others arrived, they would make a move and guarantee that the other party would not be able to escape even if they had wings. The Ouyang clan's move was too good. At that time, would Luo Qingtong and the others still not hand over the Sage Monarch's tomb map? The Huo family head sneered. Chapter 1402. So, Tong Tong, you want me to contact those forces in the southern mountain range? Yusi Wang's pair of slanted phoenix eyes slightly raised, then he looked at Luo Qingtong with a charming face and said, then what benefits do I get? Yusi Wang had been tricked by Luo Qingtong several times. The kisses and hugs that he wanted, he didn't even get a single one. This time, he was determined to succeed at least once. You have to know, if it's my Imperial Sects forces, I will definitely agree without a second word. Who asked me to like you? But... His eyes flashed with a charming light. This time, it's not my Imperial Sect's own forces. The forces in the 3 islands and 7 lands, I can barely command them, but other forces, I still have to discuss cooperation with them. You have to pay a lot of price, so... Yusi Wang raised his hand and stroked the tear mole under his eye. Smiling extremely charming and enchanting, he said, Tong Tong, don't you think you should properly thank me? And, properly thank you. Luo Qingtong said indifferently. I want to take action. Yu Si Huang looked at Luo Qingtong with a face full of hidden bitterness. Every time she played word games with him. For example, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Give me a kiss, and I'll go immediately. Yu Si Huang raised his hand and pointed at his lips. The smile on his face became even more enchanting and charming. Oh, then forget it. Luo Qingtong looked at him leisurely. You can choose not to go, and when those people make trouble, I'll just say that I gave you the map. Anyway, those people's biggest goal is the map of the Saint King's tomb. What do you think? Not very good. Yu Si Huang's handsome face, when Luo Qingtong's words sounded, had already collapsed. This person really didn't give him any advantage at all. Yu Si Huang's face was gloomy. I'll contact the southern region's forces right away. As he spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong and said seriously, however, the situation this time is obviously not right. I also received news that the Huo family seems to have joined forces with the Ouyang family and other top families. If that's the case, even if I gather all the forces on my side, we may not be able to deal with them. I think you should consider releasing a map of the sage monarch's tomb and let them fight amongst themselves. That way, they won't suffer any losses and affect our plans to enter the sage monarch's tomb later. Yu Si Huang's suggestion was very pertinent. After all, Luo Qingtong had more than one map of the saint monarch's tomb in her hands. She could release one of them and let the top families in Wild City fight for it, breaking the Huo family's alliance. However, Yu Si Huang did not know that Feng Wan was behind the Ouyang family. With the latter's hatred for Luo Qingtong, even if Luo Qingtong did not have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in her hands, she would not let Luo Qingtong go. What's more, the Huo family, Luo Qingtong and family who had already formed a grudge. When the time came, even if there was no map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, the other party would still make a move. In that case, what difference did it make whether or not she released the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb? Luo Qingtong had never liked being forced to do things. If she was willing to give, others could take it. If she was not willing to give, no one could take it. If anyone dared to reach out and snatch it, she would chop off their hands. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.